Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Governor of the Bank of Canada confirmed yesterday that if the government had reduced its deficits, we would have lower inflation. But because of the exorbitant deficit we have today, inflation will be costing $3,500 more for each and every Canadian. Now that the Prime Minister has had it confirmed that his deficits are causing inflation, will he turn things around so that Canadians can pay their own bills? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, during the pandemic, we chose to be there for Canadians. We helped families, we helped workers, we helped small businesses, community centres, and nonprofits. We were there to support people so we could all get through the pandemic as best as possible. And not only was the pandemic a less severe health crisis than in many other places in the world, but our return to a thriving economy was faster than among many of our neighboring countries. My opponent across the way wanted to cut. We want to deliver. The
top Newfoundland and Labrador minister said that he's, quote, sick and tired of people complaining about heating their homes in the cold winter. Well, no wonder they're complaining. According to the CBC, the Prime Minister's favorite media outlet, and I quote, the federal carbon tax could leave seniors out in the cold. One seniors advocate said that her members are feeling, quote, extreme difficulty with the cost of living. Instead of telling Atlantic Canadians to pay up and shut up, why doesn't this government reverse its costly carbon tax on home heat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, instead of mischaracterizing what members on this side of the House says, the leader of the official opposition should actually take a look at what, for example, the Parliamentary Budget Officer says in regards to our price on pollution, which actually returns more money to the vast majority of Canadians in areas where it's imposed. The price on pollution not only fights climate change, but it also supports hardworking families where they most need it. We're pleased that families in Atlantic Canada are now going to be getting the carbon incentive rebate regularly, and we're going to continue to fight climate change and support Canadians while we do it.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Well, if the Prime Minister says I should take a look at the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report, I think I just might. I have it right here, a distributional analysis of the federal carbon pricing. And I go to page 13. The net cost to Albertans, net, $2,282. Saskatchewan, $1,464. Manitoba, $1,145. Ontario, $1,461. This is the excessive cost above and beyond the rebates that people will get. That's what the Parliamentary Budget Officer says. The Prime Minister won't believe it. So the question for you, Mr. Speaker, will you send over a page so that the page can deliver this report and he can believe his own eyes?
I'm not here to answer questions, so I'll let the Right Honourable Prime Minister answer the question. Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, remarkably buried in that rhetorical attack was something that was quite important, and perhaps the first time the member of the official opposition has finally recognized that there is a rebate associated with the price on pollution, that we give back more money every year than average families pay related to the price on pollution. We are actually there to support Canadians even as we fight climate change. Now, the Leader of the official opposition doesn't much care for the fight against climate change, but he should care about putting more money in people's pockets. That's why he should support our price on pollution.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Well, no one's ever denied that there's a tiny rebate. What we have said is that the rebate doesn't come anywhere near paying the cost that people have to pay for higher...
I'm going to interrupt the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. When you're reading from something, it's not a problem, but when you're holding it up, it becomes a prop, and it's not really his part. I'm sure the Honourable Member knows that. He probably just forgot. I'll let him continue. Please.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry that some consider a report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer to be a prop. I consider it to be firm evidence that the size of these rebates is smaller than the cost that people pay in higher taxes. This is definitive proof, and it shows that Canadians will pay more and more the higher the tax get for a policy that has failed to deliver a single solitary climate change target. It has failed. It costs too much. Will the government cancel it?
You're right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, maybe to the Leader of the Opposition, hundreds of dollars in Canadians' pockets is a tiny amount, but I know it matters to Canadians. Hardworking families receiving support for the carbon price that they're paying is making a huge difference, as well as $500 top-up to the Canada rental benefit or delivering on rental care. All those things are not things that the Leader of the Opposition thinks Canadians should get, and he voted against it. Instead, he moves on recommending that they invest in Bitcoin to avoid inflation. Well, that would have destroyed half their savings. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to deliver support for Canadians while he plays rhetorical games.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, those rebates would not be enough to pay for 2 hours in the Prime Minister's favorite London hotel, where he pays $6,000 a night. Let me look at the costs here of this tax. $2,282 for the average Albertan when fully implemented. $1,464 for the average Saskatchewanian. Similar costs for people right across the country. These are net costs above and beyond the tiny rebates that he's offered. Now that he has the evidence, now that it's right here in one of the reports from an officer that he appointed, will he believe the facts and cancel the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in that very same report that the Leader of the Opposition is touting, it spells out that indeed the price on pollution is compensated for by a larger rebate than the average family pays out in a given year. The average family of 4, including families in his riding of Carleton, do better off with our carbon price incentive. That's because we know that fighting climate change is important to Canadian families and making ends